So in this video, I want to walk you through my journey with LinkedIn and the actual impact it's had on my life personally and professionally. And that will hopefully give you some points of wisdom that can support you on your own journey as well. So I posted my very first bit of content towards the very end of 2018. So many years ago now. I can't believe how fast the time goes. And what was unbelievable is when I started, I didn't really have a huge intent behind why I was posting. It was just that I'd been knee deep into my sales career at that time, mainly in software companies and tech companies, and had started to build a pretty solid career for myself. And I thought if I could help some other salespeople on their journey, that would be great. And I would love nothing more than trying to give back a little bit and help people on their own way. So I just started off by posting once a week. I just point either a lesson learned, a failure, a setback, something that helped me along my way. And I started to find bit by bit, people were reaching out, starting to enjoy the content. So I went from posting once a week, and then eventually I moved to twice a week. And then eventually I moved to 3 times a week. And all I was literally doing was on my way to the train station in the morning, I would just be typing away, typing a quick story, hit post, and didn't really think too much of it. I always remember the very first thing I posted was a blog article actually, and it got 3 likes within the first week. But I thought to myself, wow, that's still 3 people, right? It seemed like so insignificant in this era now where we talk about millions of engagement and millions of likes of content. But I thought if I was in a room with these 3 people, that's 3 real people, 3 people's lives that I have impacted positively in some way. So I celebrated that as a small win. And then that's what started off the chain. And then what was unbelievable was I stayed consistent. And by the end of 2019, I remember I got an email and a message from LinkedIn themselves. And they said, Alex, we're considering you to become a LinkedIn top voice. And I was completely blown away. I thought, all I've been doing is posting these small points every so often and a few times a week, trying to help people where I can. And then here I am actually hearing from LinkedIn about becoming a top voice. And so I had to fill in a questionnaire for them. And then lo and behold, I got awarded LinkedIn Top Voice. And this was during the early days when LinkedIn Top Voice was a very new thing on the platform. And for anyone who doesn't know, becoming a LinkedIn Top Voice, especially then, was a very, very prestigious thing because it was in essence saying that you had great brand authority on the platform and your ability for your content to actually translate to real value for other people had been recognized by the community, been recognized by LinkedIn themselves. So this was a huge honor and a huge accolade. And because of that, it really set off a chain for me, one where I really started to get connected with the concept of producing content. And then LinkedIn themselves started to really boost and amplify my reach on the platform. So it was like I had this media engine behind me now helping me to grow and expand my reach. That then continued to compound because I stayed consistent from 2019 to 2020. I got awarded LinkedIn Top Voice again in 2020. And so from that point, my journey really started to grow. It really started to ascend. And I started to see I was getting to a point in life where LinkedIn was actually starting to change my life. Now, what was really powerful at this point was I started to see the impact it was having on me. I was getting more job opportunities. The roles I was getting, I was finding I was getting promoted faster and I was getting recognized much more. But beyond that, what I started to see was customers that I was engaging with would all comment on my presence on LinkedIn. They were saying to me, well, Alex, I noticed that you're compounding on LinkedIn, or you're a top voice, or you're producing great content. I started to then find my sales cycles were much shorter. My deals were getting bigger. I was getting tons of inbound leads, people actually reaching out to me saying, hey, Alex, I'd like to speak to you. And I started to think to myself, wow, this is like a flywheel. And it was getting to a point where it was actually becoming predictable, where I started to see every single week I was getting consistent inbound leads simply based on the fact that I had authority on LinkedIn. And again, none of this was initially part of the plan because at that time, the only way I was actually getting business was just doing tons of outbound efforts. I was either making cold calls or I was sending cold email. I was sending outbound messages on LinkedIn before that. And I was just doing anything I could to scramble to get demands and trying to get referrals where I could. But the most predictable way I was generating business, it was all coming from the authority I was building on LinkedIn completely unintentionally. So I got to a point I sat and thought about it and I said, the most powerful way actually fundamentally for me to generate lead flow It's actually by building my brand. It's actually by building authority on LinkedIn, because that's what's creating the consistency and creating the hottest, warmest inbound leads for me. So I said, I just need to double down on this. So for the weeks, the months, the years that followed, that's what I started to do. I ramped up my volume of content while putting more effort into the quality of my content as well. And those two things working together started to get me to a point where I built this flywheel of consistent qualified leads coming inbound to me and also to the companies that I was working for and aligned to, also raising their profile, raising their attention. And then over time, I was getting more connections, more followers, more engagement, and more depth with the audience that I had. The other thing I noticed was that any company I was a part of, they got a big lift because I was actually building my personal authority. It got to a point where if I started a side hustle, I started a business, I started anything, everything got the benefit of the fact that my profile was growing. And I thought, if you think of, for example, an Elon Musk or a Jeff Bezos, no matter what they do, because of their personal brand, it would always be successful, right? Elon Musk has Tesla, and then he went and acquired X or Twitter, but then that was able to even blow up even more because ultimately people were invested in Elon Musk as a personal brand. Now, I'm not saying I'm Elon, right? But at the same time, I built a prolific brand on a platform that actually matters. And that's then what led me on to, when I look at LinkedIn now, it's truly, truly special where I see the platform is at this particular time. Because now, LinkedIn earlier in 2025, they introduced this creator first approach to everything they do. So they shifted from you only having connections to actually being able to have followers. And that was a huge, huge shift, because up until then, it was only the likes of Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. These were the creator-based platforms where you produce content and then you could build a following. Whereas on LinkedIn, all you could actually do was just connect with someone. But when they introduced this creator-first approach, it meant that people could follow you even if they weren't connected with you. And this really started to change everything, because I started to see with consistency in my content, people would hit that follow button. They would start to follow me instead of only having the offer or the opportunity to connect with me. And this is where everything has really changed, because I started to see, well, LinkedIn's got 1.2 billion members on it, and it's growing at a rapid rate, 1.2 billion people. But the amount of creators is like this. Barely anyone actually creates. So there's like no market saturation. There's this huge opportunity with that many creators, but 1.2 billion people. And 65 million of them are decision makers. And a company called Pew Research Center, they did a study where they found that 53% of all members on LinkedIn earn over $100,000 per year, and over 80%, I think it was 83%, earn over $70,000 per year. Then there's another company, Autopilot, they did a study and they found that over 80% of people on Instagram earn less than $70,000 per year. So I'll give you all of that data to say LinkedIn is the B2B platform that has the most buying power. It's got the most decision makers, but it's got the least amount of people creating content. So do the math. If you're one of the very few people who are actually producing content on LinkedIn, you're in this small minority where you have the opportunity to absolutely dominate before other people start to get in on this. So it's a bit like a gold rush, right? And this doesn't happen often. There's very few of these gold rush type of moments in our lives and in various different eras in life, but this is actually one of them. This is where we have this unique opportunity where if you can create content, you then can access all of those decision makers, get to a point where you can start to generate predictable qualified lead flow for you, your business, especially if you're a B2B service provider, and you can get ahead of the curve before anyone else. Now, you look at my journey, right? This was like accidental. But the special thing about right now is it doesn't need to be accidental anymore. It can actually be predictable. It can be systemized. And that's actually how and why I got to the point where I founded my agency, Influx, because I started to see this opportunity in this unique time. But I could also see that business owners are very busy, right? The last thing that most business owners want to do is have to spend time creating content, having to figure it all out. And they don't have that same media engine that I got the benefit of from LinkedIn earlier days, because it's very difficult now to become a top voice. It's not a systemized way to do it. You're basically relying on luck. So I started to think, well, how could we engineer that luck and get to a point where someone could predictably generate qualified lead flow from LinkedIn? So here at Influx, what we actually do is we take care of all of the content creation. We turn individuals or companies into authorities on LinkedIn with the sole intent of generating qualified leads on autopilot on their behalf. And then we use our media engine, which is a collection of pages and authority-based pages that we have, to amplify content to get someone to a point where they can very quickly go from being not known, having no following at all, to a point where they become a brand authority in their space. They're generating qualified leads on Autopilot, getting qualified sales calls on the calendar, and then they built an asset that actually compounds over time. So no matter what business they touch or what they do, they're able to continue to have that consistency and that flywheel effect that I was able to benefit from myself. And now many of our clients are able to benefit from as well. So it's just a truly special time. One, to be on LinkedIn, and two, to be alive, right? And so I get really excited about this stuff, because it can get to a point where you can grow and scale in a way that you wouldn't have thought of before. I remember the constant grind of having to do outbound and spending tons of money on ads and not knowing whether I was really going to get a real result from it. And it got to the point where I said, there's got to be a better way. So what I'm going to do is actually leave a link in the description box below of this video. If you want to learn a little bit more about the way that we think about this and what it would actually look like to be in a situation for your business where you had the benefit of not having to create the content, becoming an authority, and getting to a point where you could be amplified through our media engine. If you'd like to learn more, I'll leave a link in the description box below. There'll be another short video there for you to watch to learn more what it would actually take to have this level of support. And if you think that could be interesting for you, there'll be an apply now button which you can click on. And if, as you go through that process, you'll be offered to be able to schedule a call with either myself or a member of my team to learn more about what it would take to actually ramp you up, to get qualified lead flow, and to have a story very much like mine, but that happens in a much quicker amount of time, because we actually offer all of our clients a guarantee, which is that you generate over $50,000 in net new pipeline within 90 days or less, or we'll continue to work for free until that's the case. So we take all of the risk off of your hands, we put it on our shoulders, because that's how much confidence we have in what we're doing and our approach. Now, if you did actually gain something from just watching this video and hearing a bit more about my story, please do take a second to actually hit the like button, to also leave a thoughtful comment to let me know what you'd like to see more of, and also to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on anything else that's coming from me and the team as we continue to grow, scale, and to add impact. Again, do check out the link I'm going to leave in the description box below, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.